2025 has been a pretty miserable year for democracy and the global economy, and it was bookended by the devastating loss of two titans of the cinematic arts, David Lynch in January and Rob Reiner in December. But it's been a surprisingly great year for film. We saw the rise of the non-IP blockbuster, Sinners, Weapons, F1, Materialists, all original stories, all ripped straight from a director's vision, all box office hits. Plenty of original movies flopped too, but this is a really promising step forward into a new era of film going. Audiences still flock to the IP stuff, Minecraft, Lilo and Stitch, Jurassic World Rebirth, but it's a sign that there's room for all these kinds of movies in theaters. A film like Superman doesn't have to squeeze out a film like Sinners. There's an audience for both, they can coexist. There have been some wonderful films out this year. Elio, The Monkey, Good Fortune, The Life of Chuck, The Wedding Banquet, Predator's Badlands, and Killer of Killers. Megan became an action hero, The Rock made an admirable bid for an Oscar, Guillermo del Toro finally made his Frankenstein movie, and Bob Odenkirk played the love child of Clark Griswold and Jason Bourne in Nobody 2. But throughout the year, I've also endured some of the worst films I've ever seen. From Rebel Wilson's excruciatingly unfunny action vehicle Bride Hard, to the Russo brothers' interminably dull, blandly impersonal The Electric State. Ice Cube's Amazon-sponsored War of the Worlds was so aggressively bad that it might actually become a so bad it's good cult classic that groups of friends watch together like The Room or Plan 9. There were some movies I was really looking forward to that ended up being deeply disappointing. Captain America Brave New World is the middlest of middle-of-the-road Marvel movies. Opus is a cult of celebrity thriller that wants to be Midsommar but just ends up being mid. Wolfman is a generic, cliche-ridden reboot with predictable twists, uninspired scares, and a central couple with no discernible chemistry. Havoc is the long-gestating passion project from the director of the Raid films that, after years of anticipation, turned out to be a pretty generic cop movie. Abraham's Boys wasted a juicy premise, a gorgeous horror western visual style, and Harry Bosch as Van Helsing on a boring slog with no real payoff. A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey was a sickeningly schmaltzy, saccharine, sub-Charlie Kaufman existential romance pairing up two individually great actors with zero on-screen chemistry. After the Hunt is a Me Too campus allegation drama told from the perspective of the kind of hateful boomers who go on Facebook to complain about snowflakes and safe spaces. Edgar Wright's Running Man remake is an okay action movie, but it falls far short of the standard set by the Cornetto trilogy. Him's promising mix of sports and horror is undermined by its style over substance execution and its messy music video editing. There were some crazy premises that got turned into frustratingly tame films. Death of a Unicorn managed to fuck up a sure thing like Paul Rudd vs. Vengeful Unicorns. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 managed to make killer Chuck E. Cheese animatronics boring. But on the flip side, there were a few films I ended up liking a lot more than I expected. Ballerina was a worthwhile addition to the John Wick universe. The Alto Knights was a nice throwback to Scorsese's old-school gangster movies. Heads of State was a million times funnier and more exciting than the average straight-to-streaming action comedy. Freakier Friday might not have been as funny as its predecessor, but it was just as feel-good. A Minecraft movie was surprisingly fun, purely because Jack Black and Jason Momoa are having the time of their lives. Dean Fleischer Camp directed the Lilo and Stitch remake as much more than a cynical cash grab. He tweaked a few things, but he maintained the heart of the story and the core of that relationship. Spinal Tap 2 wasn't an all-time classic like the first one, but it was really funny, and a more than welcome return to those characters. And I was pleasantly surprised to find that Happy Gilmore 2 wasn't as god-awful as it could have been. And now for the obligatory disclaimers I do every year. I'm defining what constitutes a 2025 film based on the UK release dates. And this is just a subjective list based on my personal favourites. It's not objective and it's okay to disagree as long as you're civil. Before we dive into the list proper, I've got some honourable mentions to get off my chest. Nosferatu is a chilling reimagining of a chilling reimagining. One of the most visually inventive and powerfully acted Dracula adaptations ever made. It feels fresh and distinctive in the context of this 100-year canon. The Phoenician Scheme is 95% everything you'd want to see in a James Bondian spy caper directed by Wes Anderson, and 5% surreal, Fellini-esque moments of existential profundity. The Naked Gun is a blast from start to finish, not quite the comedy masterpiece its namesake was, but still the hardest I've laughed in a cinema since Anora. Mickey 17 was a delightfully zany sci-fi comedy, a thoughtful satire of capitalistic exploitation, and an oddball odd couple buddy story between two uncannily distinct Robert Pattinsons. Warfare is a visceral, intense, almost traumatic portrayal of the horrors of war drawn from its co-director's real-life battlefield experiences. Thunderbolts was a rare Marvel film that genuinely captured the complex higher theme it was going for, in this case the worsening worldwide mental health crisis, and even added something worthwhile to the conversation surrounding it. The Fantastic Four First Steps gave Marvel its first back-to-back bangers in a good few years. It followed up the hauntingly bleak nihilism of Thunderbolts with a much more hopeful and optimistic look at the world through a campy, cheesy, alternate universe, retro-futuristic 60s utopia. Friendship is quintessential Tim Robinson cringe comedy that made for an excruciatingly funny amuse-bouche before the chair company served the main course. Together is this year's answer to The Substance, shockingly gruesome body horror that plays like a charm to a late-night grindhouse audience, but also uses its flesh-bending effects to touch on a deeper social issue, the horrors of codependent relationships, brought to life by Alison Brie and Dave Franco's real-life chemistry. Boys Go to Jupiter was one of the weirdest films of the year, but also one of the most charming. Roofman is a hilarious comic caper, a fascinating character study of a lovable fugitive, and the perfect showcase for Channing Tatum's unique charms. Begonia is a darkly funny, deeply disturbing horror comedy, a timely satire of conspiracy theories and ecological collapse. Eddington is my favorite Ari Aster film since Hereditary, a daring COVID western that takes big swings with pitch-black humor, political divisions laid bare, and one of the greatest shootout sequences I've ever seen. The Long Walk is a bleak movie for bleak times, but it has a huge heart. It's a brutal dystopian thriller, but it's carried by the brotherhood that forms between these guys all facing the same shitty end of the stick.
That ain't fucking fair!
And now, without any further ado, here are my top 10 films of 2025. From the tender male-bonding drama of Jay Kelly and A Real Pain, to the goopy gonzo gore of Weapons and the Toxic Avenger. Strap in. A lot of films on this list deal with heavy subject matter and thought-provoking themes, but Final Destination Bloodlines is just a fucking blast from start to finish. It's a pure crowd pleaser, mixing wonderfully effective jump scares with delightfully dark humor. It's a full-on splatstick comedy, the kind of cartoonishly gory horror epic that Sam Raimi and Peter Jackson made early in their careers. There are lots of goofy one-liners and campy Dutch angles. Bloodlines is the best Final Destination film by far, but that low bar doesn't do it justice. The previous movies have been 6s at their very best, and Bloodlines is comfortably a 9. It's a riot. I had an ear-to-ear grin through the whole film, hanging in suspense to see what gruesome fate awaited each character over the course of random everyday activities. It's a great movie to show to people and watch their reactions. One of my most joyous experiences of the year was watching my mom and sister squirm every time a body part got lopped off or a skull got crushed.
What? No. No. Oh. Ah! Ah! Oh, what is wrong with you? Oh my God!
6 movies in, the filmmakers know exactly what the audience is expecting from this franchise, so they play around with those expectations every chance they get. When the brothers start rattling the vending machine, you fully expect it to fall and kill one of them. But that's not what happens. The film saves the vending machine kill for a little later, when you're least expecting it. Bloodlines gets some meta laughs out of something as mundane as walking through a revolving door, because we know, and the characters on screen know, that in one of these movies, that revolving door could be a death trap. I think what struck me the most about Final Destination Bloodlines is that I actually liked the characters. I actually cared about them. Final Destination movies usually make the characters so unlikable that you enjoy watching them die, but Bloodlines made me actually root for their survival, especially the main 2 siblings, without sacrificing any of the fun of the deaths.
I'm gonna stay alive as long as
I came to love that brother and sister so much that I was really hoping they'd escape death this time. But of course, death comes for us all.
And cut.
Can we go again?
Really?
I'd like another one.
Noah Baumbach's latest in a long line of smart, funny, sophisticated character studies is 8.5 for the fading American movie star. Jay Kelly, and by extension the actor who plays him, is a relic of a Hollywood that doesn't exist anymore. A Hollywood where marquee stars reigned supreme and brought millions of fans around the world flocking to cinemas to see them on the silver screen. But Baumbach isn't really reckoning with the death of that Hollywood. He's reckoning with this guy's sad, empty life. When all is said and done, when the director calls cut and everyone goes home, what does someone like Jay Kelly really have going for them? George Clooney gives a really poignant, really personal performance exploring that question. This is a movie about loneliness, a theme I've discussed a lot on this channel because I live alone, I work from home, I'm chronically single, and listening to my own voice on these recordings is often my only human contact on a given day. Jay Kelly explores the difference between being alone and being lonely. You can be surrounded surrounded by people and still feel lonely, and that's Jay Kelly. There's a great running gag where every time he says he's lonely, one of his staff hands him a drink.
See you, Dad. I'm leaving on Saturday for Paris.
This is your last summer. It'll be so lonely here without you.
No, it won't. You're never alone.
Really? I think I'm always alone. Thanks a lot.
It's a funny gag that got me every time, but it encapsulates the point of the movie. He's surrounded by his entourage, people who work for him, but he doesn't have any real friends. His own daughters want nothing to do with him. There were a few moments in this movie that really got to me, really made me feel something, and that's what cinema's all about. There's a scene where Jay is talking to himself in the mirror, saying his own name alongside the names of legendary actors to see if his name sounds right next to those legends.
Gary Cooper. Cary Grant. Jay Kelly. Clark Gable. Jay Kelly. Robert De Niro. Jay Kelly.
There's a scene where it paints him to see Patrick Wilson, a fellow actor and honoree, with a huge adoring family, kids and grandkids who all love him. He asks Jay if he can spare any of his tickets to squeeze in this massive clan, and Jay says he can spare all of them.
We need a few extra tickets for the fam if you have any to spare.
I can spare all of them, Ben.
Thanks, brother. I owe you.
It killed me to see this guy who's adored by millions of strangers but doesn't have anyone in his life who truly loves him. By the time his tribute rolls around, his daughters, his dad, and his entourage have all abandoned him. The only person he has left is Adam Sandler as his longtime manager and John Landau-style lifeline, and even he's thinking of jumping ship. The scene where the Sandman puts on Jay's makeup for the tribute, trying to do it how his usual makeup artist does it with Sharpie and the eyebrows, is an oddly tender moment. It's the perfect culmination of this crumbling marriage we've seen throughout the film, like he's putting on his clown makeup one last time. But the scene that solidified Jay Kelly as one of my favourite films of the year came right after that. During the tribute, the supercut of clips from Jay's career, really from Clooney's career, splices in memories from his life. We see his daughters as little kids putting on a show for him.
And now it's time for Daisy Genevieve Kelly's famous front roll.
He keeps trying to leave and they keep begging him to stay.
Dad, I'm Jessica. It's not over. Hillary Kelly will do her more famous cartwheel.
It's heartbreaking to see and encapsulates the real tragedy of the film. Jay Kelly fucked up his own life. He's got no one to blame but himself.
And now. Wait, Dad, you're missing it. For Daisy's. Dad, you're gonna miss it.
A lot of people didn't like this movie. They thought it was a dull premise, they thought it was too sympathetic to a rich white man, and they thought it was a classic exercise in self-indulgence by the Hollywood elite. That's what I was expecting going in, but I didn't find it to be that at all. It's certainly an imperfect movie. I thought the romantic history between Adam Sandler and Laura Dern's characters was shoehorned in and completely unnecessary, and I thought the script did a lot of telling instead of showing in some scenes, but I'm willing to forgive all that because this film hit me on a deep emotional level. It made me laugh, it made me cry, and it made me appreciate the things that matter in life.
Nobody special. Just some dude with a mouth!
The best communal theatrical experience I had this year was watching The Toxic Avenger in a packed house at a late night screening on its opening weekend. I went to the cinema alone, but I didn't watch the film alone. It felt like the whole audience was on the same page, enjoying the hell out of this crazy fucking movie. It brought the house down. Every single twist landed, every single one-liner and sight gag got a big laugh, and underneath all the blood-soaked insanity, everyone was genuinely rooting for the underdog. I felt like I was in a grindhouse theater in the 70s, the kind of riotous, sold-out opening night described in the pages of Quentin Tarantino's Cinema Speculation. Macon Blair comes from the art house world, but he's not interested in making an art house Toxic Avenger movie. This reboot isn't a dark, gritty reinvention of the Toxic Avenger, or an esoteric deconstruction of the Toxic Avenger. It's the real deal. It's brash, goopy, over the top, and it doesn't take itself seriously for a second. Peter Dinklage is obviously a great dramatic actor, but he's so good at comedy too.
What the? Oh my god!
He commits wholeheartedly to the bit. He doesn't overplay the lines, he lets the lines speak for themselves, and like John Cleese and Danny McBride before him, he's not afraid to make himself the butt of the joke. Kevin Bacon and Elijah Wood are having so much fun playing the villains, and the fun is infectious. Taylor Page and Jacob Tremblay are tasked with grounding all this absurdity in some kind of reality. They have the thankless job of the so-called straight man, and they nail it. Their normalcy highlights the insanity of everyone else around them. On the surface, this new Toxic Avenger is just another schlocky, exploitative B-picture, but it has a sly, satirical undercurrent commenting on the ruthless American healthcare system. In the opening minutes of the film, Winston Goose is diagnosed with cancer and told there's nothing he can do about it. He's flat broke in a country where universal healthcare is a pipe dream, so he's shit out of luck. The cruel irony is that Winston got cancer as a result of his unsafe working conditions, and he's denied treatment because the very corporation that created those conditions refuses to cover it. The only chance he has of surviving his illness in America is being mutated in a vat of toxic waste. When he's reborn as an unstoppable force of pollution, Toxie goes after the CEO of the heartless pharmaceutical conglomerate that gave him cancer, denied him care, and left him for dead. In this day and age, that's a revenge story we can all get behind. The Toxic Avenger has been sitting in the can for 2 years, waiting for a distributor with the balls to put it in theaters, and it's well worth the wait. It's gratuitously gory, shamelessly silly, and a wonderfully wild ride.
That's all that matters to me.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Boner.
Is not available.
Hey, Benji, I just got to the airport. I really hope you left already. Oh, God, you made it.
What's up, cuz?
If Jesse Eisenberg released a 12-hour Snyder cut of A Real Pain, and all it added was more scenes of him and Kieran Culkin bouncing off each other, I would watch it and love every second of it. A few days after I watched A Real Pain on its opening night, I went back and watched it again, because I couldn't get enough of these two cousins. I wanted to hang out with them some more. Dave and Benji are the ultimate odd couple. They're like an American Mark and Jez.
Just because I'm dealing a little bit of drugs does not make me a drug dealer.
Well, yes, it does.
Oh, God.
I got some good shit from when we land.
Wait, you're not like taking weed into Poland, are you?
Oh, yeah.
Benji?
They don't give a shit about that stuff.
I think they very much do give a shit about that stuff.
Yeah.
Dave is the boring, introverted pragmatist who lives relentlessly in the real world and has a tough time socializing with others. And Benji is the fun-loving extrovert who makes friends everywhere he goes and says whatever's on his mind. Eisenberg and Culkin were perfectly matched in these roles, because Eisenberg is anxiety incarnate, a walking jumble of neuroses, and Culkin is a human stress ball with a really loose, spontaneous acting style. Culkin got a lot of flowers for his performance, including a much-deserved Academy Award, but I didn't see nearly enough love for Eisenberg's performance opposite him. When Culkin was up for Best Supporting Actor, there were some accusations of category fraud, arguing that Benji is more of a co-lead than a supporting player. Benji feels like a main character because he has a much bigger personality than Dave. Where Dave is shy, awkward, and introverted, Benji is brash, confident, and outspoken.
We're not at the right station.
And you didn't wake me up.
Oh, you're having such a good nap, dude.
Jesus
you were like,
Christ, we are on a tour group with
I know, I just didn't have the heart to wake you up.
Benji has been compared to Culkin's Succession character, Roman Roy.
Hey, motherfuckers.
But they have a few key differences. Benji has social skills and compassion and a genuine interest in other people, all of which Roman lacks. Benji is an open book emotionally, while Roman goes to great lengths to mask his sadness. The one thing they have in common is their snarkiness, which makes them both scene stealers. It seems like Benji is the lead of the movie, the one steering the ship, because his lively, obnoxious personality keeps overshadowing Dave. Benji is constantly stealing the spotlight from Dave, hijacking his conversations and redirecting people's attention with his undeniable charms. But that's not the movie failing to focus on the right character. It's the movie succeeding in showing its central duo's relationship. Benji's penchant for upstaging Dave is the dramatic crux of their relationship. Dave feels invisible next to Benji, and the movie demonstrates why. If Benji seems like the main character, it's because the movie captured that dynamic perfectly. Dave's insecurities in his relationship with Benji are illustrated beautifully in Eisenberg's incredible dinner monologue.
Well, you seem okay.
I'm not, though. I'm not. I just, take a pill for my fucking OCD, and I jog, and I meditate, and I go to work in the morning, and I, come home at the end of the day, and I, move forward, because I know that my pain is unexceptional, so I don't feel the need to, burden everybody with it,
Yeah.
While Benji is in the toilet, the rest of the tour group probe Dave for a bit more information about his cousin, and he launches into a tirade of oversharing. Dave tells them that he loves Benji, but also confesses that he hates him sometimes, and that he's jealous of Benji's ability to light up a room.
I love him, and I hate him, and I want to kill him, and I want to be him, and I feel like so stupid around him, you know, because he is so fucking cool and he just does not give a shit.
He wishes he knew what it felt like to be the life of the party and capture people's attention like Benji does. This monologue makes it clear that while Dave is the main character of the movie, Benji is the main character of their lives. Eisenberg nails this monologue. It's an acting masterclass. He jumps all over the emotional spectrum, seamlessly switching between dry humor, raw honesty, selfish rage, and a deep well of sadness. It all feels so real. It would have made a perfect Oscar clip if Eisenberg was in the running for Best Actor, as he deserved to be. Eisenberg's first feature, When You Finish Saving the World, was a promising start to his directorial career, but it was ultimately pretty muddled and uneven. By contrast, his second feature is as sure-footed as a mountain goat. A Real Pain is a laser-focused examination of male bonding, men's mental health, and two third-generation Jewish immigrants reckoning with their neglected cultural heritage and the lingering horrors of the Holocaust. I came out of A Real Pain loving Kieran Culkin even more than I already did, and appreciating Jesse Eisenberg's talents as a writer-director. He's got the wit of Woody Allen without any of the creep factor.
There are legends of people born with the gift of making music so true it can pierce the veil between life and death, conjuring spirits from the past and the future.
Somebody take me in your arms tonight.
We've gotten to the point now where everything that can be done in every individual genre has already been done, and even most of the possible hybrid genres have already been done. But every couple of years, a filmmaker comes along with a genre-bending vision that combines so many different ingredients into a cinematic cocktail, such a disparate set of influences that they shouldn't all work together, and create something magical, from Kill Bill to Scott Pilgrim vs. the World to Everything Everywhere All at Once. This year, we got another addition to that curious pantheon. Ryan Coogler's Southern Gothic vampire gangster musical mixes so many different genres and styles and tones that it becomes something wholly unique and unclassifiable. Sinners is a pretty transparent reimagining of From Dusk Till Dawn, but it's not a rip-off by any stretch. It borrows the same basic structure, an unassuming crime film in its first half, a gonzo vampire-slaying actioner in its second half, but it does something completely different with it. The crime film set up in the first act isn't a contemporary thriller like From Dusk Till Dawn's Tarantino-like Brothers on the Run tale. It's an old-school fedoras and Tommy guns gangster flick. It's not set in the sweaty arse end of Mexico, it's set in the cotton fields and juke joints of 1932 Mississippi. Coogler uses the rousing high-concept framework of gangsters versus vampires to explore the harrowing history of Jim Crow America and the transcendent escapist power of blues music. Michael B. Jordan gives an uncanny dual performance as two totally distinctive twins, in a year weirdly overstuffed with dual performances. But he's not the true star of the film. He's the established leading man who smuggles in the real star, the fabulous Miles Caton, a superstar in the making, as the twins' cousin and young ward, Sammy.
Traveling, I don't know where the world I'm in.
Caton gives a wonderful dramatic turn as the audience surrogate going through the wildest day of his life. But he's such a breathtaking musical talent that you also fully believe he could break the space-time continuum with his music.
Somebody take me.
The I Lied to You sequence is one of the most amazing things I've ever witnessed on the big screen. I had no idea what was going on at first. It all happens so seamlessly, it's all executed so perfectly, that it takes a couple of minutes to realize we've taken a fantastical turn. Coogler has been one of the best directors working today since he burst onto the scene with Fruitvale Station, but that time-traveling musical number is god-tier filmmaking that put him up there with the all-time greats. When I launched this channel 3 years ago, one of the first videos I posted was a review of Everything Everywhere All at Once called Everything a Movie Can Be All at Once. Because I was blown away by the film's ability to do so many different things at the same time. It's a touching family drama, a twisted slapstick comedy, a high-octane action thriller, and a mind-bending sci-fi epic all at once. And none of those different facets of the film detract from the others. Somehow they all complement each other. I felt the same way watching Sinners. It's a high-stakes gangster movie, a visually stunning vampire-infested horror movie, movie, a harrowing look at life during segregation, a poignant history of the blues, and a touching tale of two brothers dealing with grief and heartache in their fractured family, all rolled into one staggering cinematic spectacle. It has incredible music for your ears, gorgeous images for your eyes, and beautifully rendered characters and relationships to tug on the heartstrings. I'm a massive Bob Dylan fan, although I look like a casual fan next to my dad, who's basically a Dylan groupie. We actually went to see him live last year, and his stage persona is exactly how it's portrayed in the movie. He's allergic to playing the hits.
No, man, it's not a request type concert. If you want to do that, go see Donovan.
Dylan is a once-in-a-generation talent, one of the greatest musicians who ever picked up an instrument, and one of the greatest poets who ever put pen to paper. I've listened to those early albums over and over again. My dad even got me into the Whitmark demos, and I'm fascinated by his process and his conflicting origin stories. So I was predisposed to enjoy a movie celebrating his life and work.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man?
A Complete Unknown is my version of a sing-along Wicked or a sing-along K-pop Demon Hunters or the Eras Tour film.
Then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changing.
When I was in the cinema, I had to bite my tongue, but when I rewatched it at home, I was belting out Like a Rolling Stone, Masters of War, Highway 61 Revisited, and A Hard Rain's Are Gonna Fall like nobody's business.
How many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man?
7.
No, Dad, it's a rhetorical question.
Rhetorically, 8.
I probably would have enjoyed this movie no matter what, but I was really impressed by what James Mangold did with it. He managed to distill this complex figure into a cinematic character study worthy of his legend. Timothée Chalamet gives an uncanny performance as Dylan. He gets the voice and the body language spot on, but it goes deeper than that. He nails Dylan's mysterious aura and creative genius, and doesn't shy away from his less likable qualities for a well-rounded portrait of a brilliant yet flawed artist.
Are you God, Bob?
How many times do I have to say this? Yes.
Adrian Brody was great in The Brutalist, but I think Timmy should have won the Oscar. At least he would have given a normal length speech.
And I'm wrapping up. Please, I'm wrapping up. I will wrap up. Please turn the music off. I've done this before. Thank you.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Chalamet carries the movie on his shoulders, but he's surrounded by incredible supporting players. Dan Fogler never falters in his comic relief role as Dylan's manager, Albert Grossman.
Bobby, did I ever tell you my parable of the Teaspoon Brigade?
The parable of the fucking what? It's the crack of fucking dawn here.
It's a good story.
Edward Norton plays Pete Seeger, a sort of father figure to Dylan, with an "aw shucks Mr. Rogers" geniality that only gets funnier the more Dylan outgrows his mentorship.
Yeah, but that the ship comes in.
Monica Barbaro is such a magnetic screen presence as Joan Baez, perfectly replicating both her soprano singing voice and her spirited countercultural attitude, that I'd gladly watch a whole biopic centered around her.
You are so completely full of shit.
Boyd Holbrook steals every single scene he's in, and nearly steals the whole movie, as Johnny Cash rapidly going off the deep end. Scoot McNairy has the greatest acting challenge of the film, playing Woody Guthrie in the throes of Huntington's disease, but he works wonders with the subtleties of body language.
Hey, Woody Guthrie, but I know that you know all the things I'm saying in a minute times more.
McNairy captures the apathy that came with Guthrie's illness, but also shows him being moved by a prodigious young talent coming in to sing him a personal tribute. From Elvis to Bohemian Rhapsody, biopics of musicians tend to overproduce their music in post-production, which makes it sound too polished and manufactured. But the music in A Complete Unknown feels different. It feels more authentic, because it was all recorded in camera.
Once upon a time, you're just so fine. Through the bums of dime in your prime.
The actors all played their own instruments and did their own singing. Mangold didn't replace their performances in post, he just put a camera in front of them and captured their honest-to-God musicianship. This required a lot of commitment from the cast, but it made all the difference to the final product. They're not just actors pretending to be musicians, they're the real deal. These in-camera performances utilized period-accurate microphones and instruments, and the crew didn't use any earpieces or timing mechanisms, so the songs in A Complete Unknown are all performed 100% live. There's no Hollywood trickery, just pure, unadulterated, unadorned music. A Complete Unknown feels as much like a concert film as it does a biopic. It has the unmistakable atmosphere of live music.
And I stand over your grave till I'm sure that you're dead.
The climactic Like a Rolling Stone performance is just as rousing and cinematic as the Live Aid scene from Bohemian Rhapsody, except this one feels earned. It's the culmination of the story Mangold has been telling, about an artist who wants to break free from the traditions against the old guard's wishes. There's more conflict and dramatic substance. The climax of Bohemian Rhapsody is just a great concert, but the climax of A Complete Unknown is a great concert where the audience and the organizers feel betrayed by their messiah.
People call, say, beware, doll, you're bound to fall. You thought they were all kidding you.
Mangold bookends the film beautifully. In the opening scene, we see Dylan hitchhiking into the city, but at the end of the movie, we see him ride away on a motorcycle. These opening and closing images are symbolic of the journey he's been on throughout the film. At the beginning, he arrives in New York, hoping to be a part of the folk scene, piggybacking off others and relying on their encouragement. But by the end of it, he's conquered the folk scene, evolved beyond the confines of the genre, and gone off on his own. 3 and a bit years ago, when I first watched The Batman, I felt like Matt Reeves had perfectly distilled the essence of this character I'd been obsessed with my whole life into the ultimate cinematic snapshot of an icon. And when I first watched Superman this past summer, I felt the exact same way. The movie might be a bit overstuffed, but it gets the character of Superman exactly right. It encapsulates who Superman is. He's wholesome, kind, straight-edged. He sees the good in everyone and gives everyone the benefit of the doubt. He's the kind of guy who saves squirrels. And above all, despite his Kryptonian DNA, he's as human as anyone else.
I get scared. I wake up every morning and despite not knowing what to do, I put one foot in front of the other and I try to make the best choices I can. I screw up all the time. But that is being human. And that's my greatest strength.
Superman is a comic book movie in the most literal sense. It looks like a moving comic book. It's bursting with color, brought to life with cinematic splash pages. And almost every shot in the film looks like a piece of comic book artwork. Pocket universes, interdimensional imps, superhuman cloning, and blowing yourself out of a black hole using super breath are perfectly in line with the kind of bullshit pseudoscience you see in Superman comics. It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to facilitate stunning visuals, thrilling action, and high-stakes obstacles for the Man of Steel to overcome. James Gunn's DCU arrived fully formed. He didn't bother building up this new universe from scratch like Iron Man. He just dropped us in at the deep end. The whole movie feels like a typical week in Superman's life. In this lived-in, textured comic book world, superheroes are a dime a dozen, the government has precautions in place to deal with them, and a downtown kaiju attack is just another Tuesday for the citizens of Metropolis. It feels similar to Star Wars, starting with Episode 4. It's as if you grabbed a random issue off the shelf and suddenly found yourself immersed in Superman's world. This film has perfect casting across the board. David Corenswet was born to play Supes, not just because he has the look, but because he also has the warmth and the sincerity and the vulnerability. Rachel Brosnahan captures Lois Lane's spunk and balls, but she also slowly lets down her guard and reveals her sensitive side as she opens herself up to love. Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor is easily my favorite version of the character to date. I always find Lex boring when he's portrayed as a generic villainous mastermind, but Holt plays him as a petty bitch who fucks with Superman just as much as he tries to kill him.
I don't know what dog you're talking about. Ugly dog in a cape.
What did you say?
I didn't say anything.
It's the first time I've actually been glad to see Lex pop up in a Superman movie.
Hey, we're ordering Chinese food. If you want anything, let me know what it is and I'll order it for you.
Nathan Fillion is hilariously obnoxious as Guy Gardner, Neva Howell and Pruitt Taylor Vince nail the pure innocence of Ma and Pa Kent, and Eddie Gathegi damn near walks away with the whole movie in his scene-stealing turn as Mr. Terrific.
I can help. I don't need your help. I'm goddamn Mr. Terrific.
Early on, Gunn tells you this won't be your average superhero movie with the interview scene.
Superman.
Miss Lane.
Big blockbusters rarely slow down for scenes like these, quieter, more character-focused, dialogue-driven moments. But they go a really long way towards making these characters feel like real people. The stop at Hawkeye's farm in Age of Ultron is another great example. When Superman allows Lois to interview him, we get a feel for their Howard Hawksian screwball banter. But it also tells us everything we need to know about Clark and Lois's relationship, which is essentially the heart of the movie. It shows Lois to be an intrepid reporter who doesn't pull any punches, it shows Clark to be emotional and fallible, and it showcases their electric romantic chemistry while also highlighting the problems in their relationship. Their courtship is marred by commitment issues and ideological clashes. Clark has a very simple black and white view of the world, while Lois appreciates the delicate complexities of geopolitical conflicts. There are a ton of great moments that have stuck with me from this film. I love seeing Guy Gardner wipe out the Baravian military with giant green middle fingers. I love seeing Lois look around Clark's childhood bedroom and get a better idea of who he is. And the ending is really sweet. The message that your real parents are the ones who raised you is as old as time.
Takes different strokes, it takes different strokes to move the world. Everybody's got a special kind.
Gunn already did it himself in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
He may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy.
That doesn't make it any less effective. The Kent home movies, set to the sounds of punk rocker, beautifully bookend the film. But my favourite scene in Superman is when Supes tells Lois he's going to turn himself in to save Krypto. Lois says he's just a dog, and Superman says he's not even a very good one, but he's out there alone and he's probably scared.
It's a dog.
Yeah, and he's not even a very good one, but he's out there alone, and he's probably scared.
He's going to turn himself over to the authorities, put himself at the mercy of Lex, and possibly endanger his own life just to make sure that unruly dog is okay. This little moment tells us everything about this character. In a world full of cynical people who don't give a fuck, here's a guy who genuinely cares. It sounds corny to say this is the movie we need right now, but this is the movie we need right now.
I got a cat.
Whatever you need.
This year we've seen a few old reliables back at the bat to hit another home run, like Paul Thomas Anderson and James Cameron. But we've also been introduced to some fresh new voices, from Michael Shanks to Ben Leonberg. The most exciting new filmmaker to come along this year is Ava Victor, whose debut feature Sorry Baby is somehow both a painful, probing examination of their own trauma and a really fun little comedy. Victor is a singular voice as a writer, director, and actor. As a writer, they create believable, well-rounded characters, even for the minor roles, and they write beautifully naturalistic scenes that feel like real life in all its messiness and mundanity. As a director, they have an unwavering sense of pacing and framing and tone, and as an actor, they're charming, relatable, funny, and above all, real. There are so many great scenes in this movie that I could point to as the moment that solidified Victor as the best new filmmaker of the year. The scene where Agnes picks up a stray cat, symbolizing her search for hope and meaning. The scene where John Carroll Lynch gives her a sandwich and comforts her through a panic attack. But I think the scene that speaks volumes while saying very little, in essence pure cinema, is when Agnes does jury duty. As she fills out the form, she's forced to name a gender, but her gender identity falls somewhere in between those binary checkboxes. As a juror, she's asked whether she's ever been the victim of a violent crime.
When I asked who has been a victim of a crime, did you raise your hand?
No, I realized I shouldn't share it, so.
You're unable to share the crime?
It is frankly my worst nightmare to have to tell this whole room of strangers about the thing that happened to me.
She's never thought about it in those terms, and she's barely told anyone about it, but now she's suddenly explaining it to a room full of strangers. It's a really powerful sequence.
On your questionnaire, you wrote...
Oh, no. I did not know that we would be reading those aloud, so...
How would your friends describe you? Smart, crossed out, then the word tall.
Something strange happened when I watched Sorry Baby at the cinema. It was a packed house, everyone was clearly enjoying the film, but it was as if they weren't sure if they should be laughing. In the scene at the doctor's office where Agnes is dealing with a not-so-tactful GP, it seemed like people could tell it was funny, but hesitated to laugh given the film's subject matter.
So it's usually best to go to the emergency room right after something like this happens.
Oh, okay. I will definitely keep that in mind for the next time.
I know this is hard to talk about.
It doesn't feel that you know that.
But by the time we got to the We Are Women scene at the university, everyone got it.
We know what you're going through. We are women.
What?
It's not about making light of this horrific subject matter, it's about pointing out the absurd ways that society addresses these issues. And for Agnes herself, humour is a coping mechanism helping her through this tough time. Audiences have been conditioned to tiptoe around the theme of sexual violence, which may have done more harm than good. Sorry Baby pushes through that discomfort to have a frank, honest discussion about a taboo subject. But despite its frankness, it doesn't minimize the horror of it. It never actually uses the word rape. It always describes the assault simply as the bad thing. Crucially, Victor doesn't show the actual assault. The camera lingers outside the house all day and night before Agnes comes out in a stunned silence, looking shaken and in shock. This approach avoids the problem with a lot of films about sexual assault. Showing it feels exploitative, which undermines the message. Instead, Victor leaves it to your imagination. Just watching that house for so long and being forced to imagine what she's going through in there evokes your own memories of similar experiences. It also reflects Agnes's own confusion around the whole thing. Even she's not really sure what happened in that house until she starts to process it with her best friend Liddy. And speaking of Liddy, Naomi Ackie gives one of the best performances I've seen this year. She's hilarious, she's inherently lovable, she brings the appropriate gravitas to difficult situations without overplaying it, and she's just an all-round irresistible screen presence. Sorry Baby reframes the usual trauma narrative to focus on moving past it and finding the hope to get you through. It's the furthest thing from so-called trauma porn. It's a funny, uplifting film about the kind of subject matter you wouldn't think could make for a funny, uplifting film. When Barbarian came out a couple of years ago, I was blown away. It was a fiercely original voice, it was as darkly funny as it was deeply disturbing, and it instantly became one of my all-time favourite horror movies. I couldn't wait to see what Zach Cregger would do next. But at the same time, I was cautiously optimistic, because exciting new filmmakers often fall victim to second album syndrome. Kevin Smith followed up Clerks with Mallrats, Celine Song followed up Past Lives with Materialists, Olivia Wilde followed up Booksmart with Don't Worry Darling. But thankfully, Cregger didn't fall into that trap. Weapons is every bit as cleverly constructed and fiendishly fun as Barbarian was, but it's a much bolder and more expansive vision. The best sophomore movies go even further with what the director was doing in their breakout film. Pulp Fiction, Boogie Nights adaptation. The same voice is there, but it's bigger and ballsier and more ambitious. And that describes Weapons through and through.
What the fuck?
Weapons is everything I hoped it would be and more. It's a modern day Brothers Grimm fairy tale, a haunting bedtime story. Watch out now. It was the perfect follow-up to Barbarian. It has the same unique blend of horror and comedy. It's just as surprising and just as original, but it's much bigger in its scope and more daring in its execution. It's deeply unsettling at times, sickeningly gruesome at others, but there are plenty of funny little human moments peppered throughout it.
Do you have AIDS?
Huh?
AIDS, asshole. Do you have AIDS?
I don't think so.
Cregger is a master of building tension, keeping you on the edge of your seat, and knowing when to break it up with a bit of levity and respite.
Hepatitis? Shit like that?
I mean, shit, not that I know of.
I love the structure of Cregger's script. It's such a great way to tell a story, especially a story that's shrouded in mystery. It's got this sprawling Magnolia ensemble feel to it, but the chapters keep it much tighter and more focused. It shows us the same time frame from every character's perspective, filling in another piece of the puzzle in each chapter. When we start off from Justine's perspective, and we get glimpses of Gladys and Alex's comatose parents and Marcus's violent possession and the hair-snipping rituals, we have no idea what's going on. But gradually, as we see what every other character has seen, the picture gets clearer and clearer, little by little. You go, oh, that's why he was there. Ah, that's why they took a lock of her hair. Oh, that's who that creepy old lady is. It makes for a perfect mystery plot because it actively involves you in the storytelling process. It adheres to Pixar's famous 2+2 rule. It doesn't just spell everything out for the viewer. It gives us all the clues we need to work it out for ourselves. Oftentimes in anthology-style films like this, some segments end up being weaker than others. But out of the 6 chapters in Weapons, there isn't a single dud. This is partly because Kreger didn't phone in any section of the script. None of them are there just to connect point A to point B. Kreger had fun with every facet of this story. And it's partly because there's no dead weight in the ensemble. Julia Garner is the troubled but tenacious teacher vilified by the town.
Get out of my store! Fucking help me!
Josh Brolin as the desperate dad consumed with rage and unsure where to direct it.
What the fuck?
Alden Ehrenreich as the loser cop on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Toby Huss as his deadpan captain / father-in-law.
Nobody beats me because I'm the Wiz!
Austin Abrams as the hilarious crack-addled comic relief.
Sorry! Fuck! Sorry!
Benedict Wong as the mild-mannered foil for all this craziness, and later as a violent maniac possessed by a witch's curse. And young Kerry Christopher, who has to anchor the most important chunk of the story opposite all these great grown-up actors and handles it with aplomb.
Stop! Dad!
But we all know who the real star of this movie is.
Alex!
Aunt Gladys is a new, all-time great horror villain. I know it's highly unlikely that Amy Madigan will even get nominated, but she was the best supporting actress of 2025, and it's not even close. Eat your heart out, Ariana. Madigan has a mesmerizing screen presence to rival Heath Ledger's Joker. She's truly terrifying, but also strangely lovable. She's an evil witch, but she's also a hilariously eccentric old lady.
Absolutely love this house!
She stole the show every time she popped up, and the slapstick absurdity of her ultimate comeuppance is one of the most rousing, bring the house down moments I experienced at the movies this year. It's so cathartic and darkly funny to see her tiny human weapons turn against her. I feel like it's getting rarer and rarer that I go to the cinema and witness something so original that it actually excites me. But Weapons did exactly that. It's a singular vision, it's a rousing popcorn movie, it's a folk story for modern times, and it's the kind of horror blockbuster that captures the zeitgeist and defines its era, like The Exorcist or Scream. It feels like Kreger is getting away with something, and I hope he keeps getting away with it for many years to come.
Who's this?
We have trouble ahead, and the road isn't clear.
Wait, excuse me? Who is this? Who is this?
I need the greeting code, Bob.
Oh, fuck. Well, I don't remember the fucking greeting code because I got a little bit high.
I remember about a decade ago, I was really excited for Inherent Vice to come out because it was advertised as Paul Thomas Anderson's Big Lebowski. But when I watched it, I was disappointed because it's overlong, overcomplicated, and light on laughs. Well, all these years later, we finally have Paul Thomas Anderson's Big Lebowski. One Battle After Another is much angrier, much more action-packed, and much more overtly political than the Coen brothers' zany neo-noir, but it captures the same vibe. A stoner is in way over his head, bumbling through a high-stakes genre story he has no business being a part of, and it's a ton of fun. It's rare that you can say a movie touched on an important political message and you had a blast watching it. One Battle After Another is nearly 3 hours long, but it doesn't waste a second of that runtime. Even my sister, who's usually very critical of long films, thought it justified its length. It's bold filmmaking. It has an epic scope, a deep emotional core, and a mesmerizing pairing of music and imagery. Michael Bauman shot on 35mm film using VistaVision cameras, so it has that gorgeous, vintage, old-school look. It's jaw-droppingly cinematic. VistaVision brings out the luster and glorious wide shots of deserts and police chases, but it also brings depth to intimate close-ups of actors' faces. I went to watch One Battle After Another 3 times because it looked incredible on a cinema screen. Movies like this are what the big screen was made for. It has the grand feel of a Christopher Nolan film, except Nolan doesn't have PTA's weird sense of humor.
I believe she was a sperm thief.
A semen demon.
That's correct.
Anderson's film perfectly captures the current political zeitgeist, the paranoia, the disillusionment, the authoritarianism, the deep state out in the open, and presents it in the quirkiest, most entertaining way possible. The main antagonistic force in the movie is an underground white supremacist Christmas cult granting absolute power to its elite members. This urgent tale of fascism and resistance feels like an angry, anti-establishment new Hollywood movie from the 70s, like Chinatown or Serpico or Taxi Driver, but for today's climate. But as politically charged as it is, this is really a story about fatherhood. Willa's biological parents both abandoned her, but Bob stepped up and raised her as his own. Bob is far from a perfect role model.
What's up, homie?
Hey, how's it going?
You cool?
There are some cases where Willa is presented as the parent instead of Bob. They both refer to Willa as his babysitter, and tellingly, the new aliases they adopt are from a mother and son, not a father and daughter.
I don't want to be your babysitter. I don't want to worry if you wrapped your car around a telephone pole.
Well, I didn't wrap
I didn't ask for this. That's just how the cards were rolled out for me.
It's dice, sweetie.
What?
It's not cards. You don't roll cards. It's dice.
But 90% of parenting is just showing up. And Bob showed up even when Willa's mother fled to Mexico and the military meathead who sired her became a Christmas adventurer. When we catch up with Bob after the time jump, he's consumed by paranoia.
Whoa, who's this?
Oh, they're just my friends.
And they have a red car like that, just driving, going to the dance? Yeah, it's cool.
Listen, tell you something, whatever you do to her, I'm doing that exact same thing to your entire fucking family. I'm not fucking around.
Wait, what?
Dad?
I'm just telling you, we're talking about freedom, baby. We're talking about freedom.
But over the course of the film, as his worst nightmare comes true and he's separated from Willa when it happens,
fuck!
He realizes he's given her the tools to take care of herself and stops worrying so much.
Hey, be careful.
I won't.
PTA has made plenty of movies about bad father figures. Boogie Nights, Magnolia, The Master. But this is his first story about a dad who actually cares and actually gets better at it. Johnny Greenwood's score, his 5th collaboration with Anderson, is another winner.
What? Did you just fucking hang up on me, you fucking liberal fucking prick? You.
Greenwood's quirky, paranoid music fits the movie like a glove. It's one of the most perfect marriages of a film and its score that I've ever seen. The tense, atmospheric, oddball piano melodies underscore the espionage stuff, while the grander orchestrations underscore the bigger action pieces and deeper emotional moments. And it's not just the non-diegetic music. Greenwood also came up with a beautiful diegetic tune to play when the two transmitters sync up within 100 yards of each other. It's a bit haunting and melancholic at first, but it ultimately settles into a nice, relaxing refrain that eases the tension and soothes you. It's a perfect musical symbol of Bob and Willa needing each other and being drawn back together. I love the wardrobe choices by costume designer Colleen Atwood. It's rare that I even notice the costumes in a film. I'm not a very fashion-savvy guy. I tend to wear plain t-shirts and baggy jeans that do nothing more than fill the necessary requirement of clothing me. But the costumes in One Battle After Another say a lot about the characters, especially since they wear the same thing for the bulk of the movie. I love that Bob spends the entirety of his action-packed race against time wearing a dressing gown and a pair of wraparound sunglasses to cover his tear-gassed eyes. It brings an appropriately dude-like energy to the character, but the faded plaid also shows us that he's just been coasting through life since the glory days. Like this robe, he's a shadow of his former self, a forgotten relic of the revolution who's long since given up the fight and resigned to a life on the couch. The dichotomy of Willa's character is reflected in her school dance attire. Her leather jacket makes her look like a badass action hero who can handle herself just like her mom, but her ironic petticoat skirt highlights her youth and innocence in the face of this life-threatening danger. And as an aside, I love that whenever Lockjaw has to dress up or wants to look nice, he wears the exact same yacht club suit across 2 decades. Apparently, Anderson went into production without having a clear ending in mind, but once they found that long, winding river of hills on a location scout, it all fell into place. That climactic car chase is the centerpiece of the movie, and the perfect culmination of this epic saga. Only Anderson could make a car chase with 3 cars following each other in a straight line as riveting and nail-bitingly exhilarating as this. It's very minimalistic, but very tense. Using Using rolling hills to build suspense with the pursuing car getting closer and closer is such a simple trick, but no one else thought of it before. It gives off Jewel vibes with the cat and mouse chase on big empty desert roads. It almost feels like a Halloween movie on wheels, with this seemingly unstoppable force relentlessly chasing down a resourceful young woman who has to think outside the box to defeat it. I honestly think it might go down as one of the all-time best car chases alongside The French Connection and The Road Warrior. Anderson's films are notorious for their bleak endings.
I'm finished.
So I spent that whole climactic chase on the edge of my seat, fearing the moment something horrible would happen to Willa or Bob or both of them. But when the smoke clears, it actually turns out to be an uncharacteristically heartwarming ending for PTA.
Are you okay? Are you okay? Come on, go to the car. Go.
The reunion of father and daughter after everything they've been through is like watching Ripley reunite with Newt, or Joel reunite with Ellie. The final scene hammers home that the fight never ends, just like the title suggests. Bob and Willow may have won the battle, but the war still rages on. They've managed to escape the Christmas adventurers, but those Yuletide cultists are still out there. Fascists and billionaires are still running the world, so the little guy has to keep fighting back. Bob has long given up the fight, but Willow picks up where he left off to fight the next battle.
She was an American girl, raised on promises.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe and click on the little bell. And also seize the day and call your mom and be kind to yourself.